What's up, everybody? Good morning. It is Thursday. It's Thursday morning live. And here's all I have to say today, that we know that summer is coming when the boys of summer start playing baseball again. And today is opening day for the Chicago White Sox. So I am excited about that. Now, I know that everybody might not be as excited as I am, but looking forward to seeing them beat the Detroit Lions today. So, hey, I am excited about my guest this morning, Stephen Andrews. He is from Greensboro, North Carolina, best-selling author, The New American Dream. Let's bring Stephen in and see where this conversation goes this morning. Hey, Stephen, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. I know it's a little bit later where you are than where I am. I'm on the West Coast, so it's 6:30 a.m. and it's 8:30 by you. It's probably close to lunchtime for you already.
It's mid-morning. I've been up a little bit.
Hey, so before the show, you were saying that the weather's kind of crummy there, huh?
It is. It's about 50 degrees right now and rainy. So we're supposed to get into the 60s today and sunny by tomorrow, but I'm ready for those 60 and 70-degree days again.
You know, I'll tell you, spring seems like it's a hard start this year.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Winter felt a little bit mild where I'm at. We didn't get any snow. And spring seemed like it come a little bit early, but then it yo-yos. It goes from spring, summer, back to winter, spring, summer, back to winter, all within a week.
Yeah, I know it's crazy this year, and Easter's this weekend, and if I look at the forecast here, it's rain, 90% rain all weekend. So
My
what are you
goodness.
gonna do? The sun will be out soon. So
That's right. That's right.
if you ever listen to Tony Robbins, he talks about the seasons. So we all go through seasons.
That's right.
Hey, I appreciate you being here this morning. As we get started, one question I always ask my guests, and I swear this is what my next book is going to be on, is I'm going to call it the one word. But in one word, what best describes you personally and professionally?
Driven.
Yeah. Interesting. What makes you driven?
Well, when I was growing up, my parents owned a landscaping business. And so they instilled a work ethic very early on that, you got to work hard for what you want in life. There's no true get rich quick schemes ever.
Right.
You have to, have drive, and you have to go after what those dreams look like. And so they instilled that in me, and that's personally and professionally. And, if you don't have to be the most talented person in the room as long as you have the most drive in the room, right? The drive and your work ethic, can outdo people, especially, if you're not the smartest person in the room. They can't take that part away from you.
Yeah. I think that's awesome. I got work ethic from my parents too, my dad especially. But what a better business to get work ethic from than the landscaping business.
That's right.
So yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I remember those 90-degree days in the summer quite often. And then the days that, like today, it's like, you know what? I wish it was 50 degrees and raining.
Yeah, right, for sure. Hey, so let's talk a little bit about your background. Why don't you tell people who you are and what you do, and most importantly, how you got to where you're at?
Absolutely. So I own a bunch of investment properties. I've been in this business 10 years. And, if we rewind, before I got into it, I went to High Point University and took a class my senior year in real estate. And the objective of the class was you had to buy an apartment complex in Chicago and make it profitable the first year. And
Why Chicago? I'm sorry. I have to know why Chicago.
So my professor was from Chicago, and he owned apartment complexes there. And so he was trying to expand his business down to the Greensboro area. And he said, "Hey, let's pick Chicago. That's my hometown." So and so it was great. It was great. Obviously, it was all simulated. We didn't really truly buy an apartment complex, but it was a simulation. But I fell in love with real estate, and I fell in love with what makes real estate what it is today. And so once I graduated, I become a retail store manager. I was $75,000 in debt, predominantly student loan debt. I did make the great decision as a 22-year-old to buy a new vehicle and get a loan on it, which is an absolute terrible idea, by the way. And then I was paying $45,000 a year, so I didn't have a lot of money left over at the end of the day, and still living at home. And I knew I wanted something more. And I thought back to my time at High Point. I was like, I really want to pull the trigger on that, but I'm scared. Anything new in life makes you a little bit scared. Oh, can I be successful at this? And, your brain, tells you all these different things that just aren't true. And so I started talking to my parents about it. And I said, hey, do you know anybody that's in this business that, could give me some guidance? And my dad knew a guy named Joel, and he's local here, 25 years experience in the business. And he was wanting to downsize, which I didn't know at the time. He wanted to downsize, spend more time with his family. And I wanted to grow, and he become a mentor of sort, and still my mentor to this day. And fast forward a decade, several hundred rental units later, loaning money, flipping houses, just started a consulting business coach business called Sorex Consulting, and just wrote a best-selling book called The New American Dream. It has been, the 10 years have flew by. Right. 10 years seems like a long time, but in the big scheme of things, it was gone just like that. And it's kind of a dream. I'm living a dream. My dream a long time ago was to be where I'm at today. But I think I've exceeded those dreams as well.
Yeah, good for you. So what is Sorex Consulting? What do you do?
Yep. So Sorex Consulting is my business coach business that I launched back last year. It is, I'm at a point in my life where I want to give back. And so kind of thought about this a couple of years ago, thought about that with the book. And I know I wouldn't be where I'm at today without people helping me. And so I want to be able to kind of help that next generation get into this great business called real estate. And there's not a ton of great stuff out there for how to get in with single family homes, duplexes, triplexes, quadplexes, small little apartment complexes, and that gives you everything you need to know. And so I wanted to create that. And so I've created a course within Sorex Consulting that's an 11 module course. You can get through it in 3 hours. And it teaches you everything that I've learned over the last decade in a very, very short period of time. And so because I think you need all that stuff to be successful.
Nice. Well, we'll get back to that in a little bit. So here's why I interrupted you during the Chicago piece, right? I'm from Chicago, lived there forever, actually moved to the West Coast this year. But, I just found it interesting that your professor would say, hey, let's pick Chicago, right? And I also asked that question for a couple other reasons. The rental fundamentals in Chicago, in my opinion, are not the best in the world when you look at tenant landlord laws and things like that. So that's interesting. Who was your professor?
Dr. Rodriguez. Yeah. So, and I don't know if he was a White Sox fan or a Cubs fan. I don't know. So you might not like him if he was the opposite team.
Well, the good news is both teams in Chicago. So
that's right.
That's funny. Right. So do you have a baseball team?
I'm an Atlanta Braves fan. I grew up a big Braves fan. My grandparents would watch every single Braves game, every single night it came on. And those were the days I grew up, John Smoltz, Tom Glavine, Greg Maddux, were all part of it. And that was a great time to be a Braves fan. It still is a great time. They've got to come back in the last couple of years and have done really well.
Yeah. Awesome. Hey, so you went to High Point. When did you graduate High Point?
Graduated in 2011.
Okay. So one of my best friends in the world went to High Point, but he's a little older than that. So
it's changed a little bit probably since he's been there. It certainly has changed a lot since I've been there. So Dr. Cobain, the president, has just done a phenomenal job. With the school.
Yeah, I've heard that. So being an entrepreneur is, I think it's a buzzword in today's market or today's world, right? And not everybody makes it. You come from a family background of entrepreneurs. You know, your family had a landscape business and you went into the real estate business, now the consulting business. How, how does how did you develop as an entrepreneur over the years? What was that journey like for you?
Are you ready to skyrocket your investment portfolio and leave a legacy? Are you tired of inconsistent returns received in the stock market? Then it's time you take a look at alternative investment options like a passive investment in multifamily real estate. No tenants, trash, or toilets, just a solid return on an annual investment, including quarterly returns along the way. These lower risk and secure assets are also a great hedge against inflation. If you want to hear more about these types of opportunities, email me directly to schedule a 15-minute consultation to see if you qualify. You can email me at mike@mycoreintentions.com.
Well, I still remember as a little kid, there was a computer game called Roller Coaster Typhoon Lagoon. And so I still remember playing it, and what it kind of taught me was what the game was about, creating a theme park, and you had to make it profitable, so the more money you brought in, the bigger you can make the theme park.
Sure.
And you can make it, and there was probably 10, 15, 20 different ways you can make it. But I loved that game. And the reason why I loved the game was because I had an entrepreneur drive in me at a very young age that my parents taught me that, hey, you know what, you can be very successful, be your own business owner, be your own boss, and be successful as long as you have the drive and you do certain things. And so it was instilled in me in a very, very young age. And when I start thinking about what's made me a good entrepreneur is surround yourself with people that know far more than you do. Have a mentor that's been there before you. I give so much credit to Joel, my mentor, because he's taught me everything that he's ever messed up on, I know about. And, a textbook just doesn't teach you all that stuff.
Right.
You need that real life experience. And so I surround myself with people that know far more than me. And I think the second thing is you have to lean into the vulnerability of getting out of your comfort zone. I think that the most successful entrepreneurs in the world are the ones that have the courage to take the step that most people don't have the courage to take, and then surround themselves with people that know far more than they do. And that's helped me out so much.
Where do you think that courage came from for you in your own life?
Well, my parents, they instilled great values in me at a very young age, but I think it's also something, I still remember this when I first started getting into it. Somebody told me that, being vulnerable is hard. Being, leaning into having courage to do something you've never done is hard, but it's also hard to stand still and not go after your dreams. And so you got to choose which hard you want to do, because they're both going to be hard. If I would have stood still and didn't lean into that 10 years later, right now, it would be hard for me. You know what? I wish I would have went after my dream, or I could be vulnerable and I could lean into that courage and take the leap of faith, because that's also hard. And so you kind of have to choose the hard.
So what's what do you think one of the toughest things you've done has been in that journey?
I think, being a landlord, there's a human side to it, right? So, yeah. You have a tenant that might be down on their luck, or that have done something wrong and they need your help. And, they come up with this great story, and sometimes it's true and sometimes it's not, right? I've been on both sides of that about why they can't pay rent. And so I think, for people that are landlords that own rental property, I think has seen this. The hardest thing for me when I initially got into this business is not very hard anymore, but I turn it off and on like a light switch. This is a business. And so you have to leave kind of your heart at the door to a certain degree, because you're running a business. And my mentor taught me very early on. He said, I understand that people are going to come to you and say, hey, you know what, X, Y, and Z happened, or hey, I'm down on my luck, or hey, I got laid off. He said, you can feel for them. you can try to help them out. But at the end of the day, he said, you got to have the mentality that if someone isn't paying rent, they're stealing money from you. And in the beginning, didn't necessarily understand what exactly that meant, but it's no different than going down to your convenience store and taking a Coke out of the refrigerator and walking out with it. You just got a service, but you didn't pay for it. It's no different than a tenant renting a property that's a service, but then not paying for it. And so in the beginning, it's hard because it's like, well, I have a heart. I'm a nice guy, and I want everybody to be successful. But at the end of the day, now for me, I turn it off and on like a light switch. It's like, you know what? This is a business. I feel for you, but there's still certain things we have to do, and there's nothing else I can do about it other than I can try to help you on the tail end. But we still got to do certain things along the way.
So, that's interesting. Do you manage your own properties?
So I used to. Well, I still do. I own the management company that manages it, and so I do have layers in place. So I know whenever I first got in this business, I managed them myself, and so I got all that real world experience. And now my property management team that I have on staff manage it for me, and we check in, and it becomes a little bit easier. But there again, even if you have someone managing it for you, that management company might come to you and say, hey, Susie Q says, hey, she can't pay rent this month. What do you want to do about it? Right. And so you still have to have some of that about you to say, you know what, this is a business. I got my own bills to pay. At the end of the day, if I don't get paid, that's food off my own table.
Yeah, for sure. I know that at one point in my career, I'd built a large property management company. We actually were managing about 7,500 units. And,
Wow.
I had employees and stuff. But early on, when I was managing stuff myself, I get that, there is this human side to it. And I have a lot of empathy for the property management people, especially the boots on the ground, right? Because you're dealing with these people every day. And there are some really hardship cases. But, at the end of the day, like you said, you are running a business. And by running a business, you have to keep yourself, in my case, 2 arms lengths away because of those heartstring pulls, And my mission statement for the management side of my business is that, I provide safe and secure housing for my tenants. So when we go in and we buy properties and we renovate them and we make sure that, they are safer, that they're more secure, that, the single parents in the world, and I think this came from being a single, being raised by a single mom, but, the single parents of the world know that if they're at work and their kid comes home from school, when the door closes behind them in the hallway, that they're safe, right? So, I loved what you said, though, about the human side of it. So, today you just kind of have to structure things a little bit different to stay away a little bit.
That's right. Because you're going to run into those human sides every single day if you're really in it. And so I've done the same thing, and with creating the realty management group that I have, that I'm 2 arm lengths away. They can certainly bounce ideas off of me. But at the end of the day, this is a business, and we want to provide good, safe housing too. But that also costs money, So if people aren't paying the rent, it's a little harder to make everything safe because there's no money there to make it safe. And so, we got to make sure we're profitable doing it as well.
Yeah. Hey, do you ever find larger apartment complexes in Greensboro or in that Triad area that come up on the market?
Every once in a while, we have a influx of apartment complexes, brand new ones going in right now. I'm situated in between, really Charlotte and Raleigh, kind of in the Greensboro area. And Charlotte and Raleigh is just so expensive. And so it's all starting to migrate my way. And we at least have 2 apartment complexes go up where I live every single couple months. And so, which is great. People need a place to live. But there are every once in a while some apartments that come available that need a little bit of work, that we look at as well. But also the market's just so high right now in this area. because so many people are migrating this way.
Yeah, it's been a hot area. Greensboro's definitely been a hot area for sure. It's one of, we monitor about 40 submarkets around the country, and that's one of the areas we watch. So I always say, if something good comes up, let me know.
I'll do it.
Hey, let's talk about your book. So you wrote a book called The New American Dream. You're a best-selling author. Let's talk about that and how that came to fruition.
Absolutely. A couple of years ago during the pandemic, and this is kind of how the consulting side came about as well. I had realtors and investors come to me and say, you know what, there's so many new investors, there's so many new realtors that want to do this business, but they don't have the foundation they need to be successful. And so I started thinking about that, and I wanted to create something that anybody could use to get them the knowledge that they need, whether it's a realtor or whether it's an investor. And that's really how the book came about. My course is more in depth than the book. You can only get so much in a book, but the book is called The New American Dream: A Simple Roadmap to Purchase and Investment Properties. It has, the first chapters, first things first, talking about LLCs and getting your insurance together, to how you finance deals, to how you handle maintenance, to how you handle the locals. You have a governing body, a municipality, whether it's a town, city, or county, that have all these rules you have to go by on how you fix things up and that sort of thing. And so how do you handle those? How do you create those authentic relationships to really the very end, with the rental process? And then the last chapter, when's enough, which is the $1 million question for everybody, right? So it's been great. I've got great feedback on the book so far, and I really think it's going to help so many people. I was blown away by the support, hitting bestseller status, and I actually hit #1 bestseller on Amazon under the real estate tab, which just kind of blew me away, that so many people would support this.
Nice. Awesome. Love to read it. I'll send you mine if you send me yours.
Absolutely.
So afterwards, let's exchange addresses. But
that works for me.
Listen, how do people get a hold of you if they want to connect?
Yep. So I'm on social media. So I'm on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. If you search Soretz Consulting or Stephen Andrews, you'll find me. Also, you can go to my website. It's soretzconsulting.com. So SOARX consulting.com. You can reach me there. Has my email information there as well to connect. There's also a link on my website for the book. You can also go to Amazon and search The New American Dream by Stephen Andrews, and it will pull it up.
Stephen, what would you tell a brand new investor today in today's environment, coming into the business, wanting to get involved in real estate investing, specifically around multifamily? What would you tell me today?
Absolutely. Do your research. The market we're in currently, some of it just doesn't make any sense, right? So, with all the different things that are going on, I would also say this. I think a lot of people get so wrapped up on what an interest rate is. I still remember my mentor saying, hey, if you're utilizing someone else's money, and that's the bank, and a tenant's paying your mortgage, and you're still making money, don't worry about what the interest rate is. If it still cash flows, you're using someone else's money anyway. If you don't get in the business, you're not making any money. And so there again, certainly interest rates fluctuate your monthly payment and that sort of thing. It's got to still cash flow. It's still got to make sense. But I think so many people get so caught up on what an interest rate is currently. And so many people are like, hey, I want the interest rates to go back to 3%, when historic data says interest rates have always been somewhere between 5 and 7% historically over time. And so I don't think interest rates are ever going back down right now anyway to 3%. So if you're waiting on that, you'll never get in the business. So pull the trigger, surround yourself with people that know far more than you do. Ask plenty of questions. One thing that I've really learned about real estate, it is a fraternity of men and women that truly care about helping the next person. And I don't think I have found anybody that I couldn't ask a question to. Real estate is just such a fascinating thing. And then the last thing is, don't always believe what you see on social media. There's a lot of people on social media. One thing that I've learned through this endeavor, you can actually rent a private jet that just sits on a tarmac that actually doesn't run, and the windows are glossed over so you can't see out. And these influencers are taking videos and pictures. They just go on there for a couple hours and they take 10, 15 different rounds of videos and pictures and they post them. So be careful, because there are some people out there that aren't genuine that you'll run into, especially on social media. So just make sure you do your research. And I think if you do that, you can still have some great success in this business.
Yeah, 100%. I am going to steal that piece, though, about the interest rates, because I don't think that, you were spot on. That's for sure. Why does interest rates matter? I've been in this business 30 years and made money in up markets, down markets, and I've lost a lot of money in up markets and down markets. But, it's all in the fundamentals.
That's right.
And, I love what you said. My first exposure to real estate investing was with Robert Allen. And I've always felt that Robert Allen was like the grandfather of real estate investing. He taught no money down, creative financing, OPM, other people's money. And that's a way to build a real estate career. So when you look at your tenant as paying your bills and you still having cash flow, there's a power in that. So
absolutely. And there's nothing else that I know of in the world that you use someone else's money for. The tenant makes the payment, you make money on it monthly, and it appreciates over time. Not using really very little of your own money, if any. I mean, there's just nothing else out there that allows you to do that.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, listen, I appreciate you being here this morning. Thank you very much. I know my listeners appreciate it. Any last words of wisdom?
Go for it. Lean into the vulnerability and have the courage to take that first step. I know it took me years. I was scared half to death from the time I graduated college. It took me about 4 years to get into real estate, and I wished I wouldn't have allowed it to take so long. Lean into the vulnerability. Lean into taking the courage, taking that first step. And if you do it right, I promise you won't regret it.
I love that. It took you 4 years. They always say there's 2 times you can plant a tree, 20 years ago or today.
That's right.
Pick your poison, right? Hey, thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Hey, anybody who wants to connect with Stephen, his website is at the bottom. He's given his information. We'll have it in the show notes. I appreciate everybody being here. We're here every Thursday morning at 8:30 Central Time. If you are someone who'd love to be a guest on this show, I'd love to talk with you about that. Reach out to me, and we look forward to seeing you